Hey, what's up, everybody? Bro Trio here, and 2024 is just getting started. We are in the very beginning of the year. We're right at the end of February, right when things really start popping off. We're about to get Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and then the rest of the year is up in the air. But it got us thinking, this is quite the opening to the year, so let's talk about our favorite video game openings. That was the smoothest segue that could ever happen. So, caveat before we get started. This is video game openings, not video game opening cinematics, where we may mention them, but they didn't influence the list. Like, the opening is the opening. Opening cinematics, hell, that might be a list for another day. But we wanted to talk about the games that get going right at the beginning and hook you line and sinker right from the get-go. So, going with number 10. Let's take a trip to Destiny Islands because Kingdom Hearts 1. You put an island out there and it's just like a bunch of kids doing shit on it that really doesn't mean anything. On paper, that sounds awful, but I don't know why Destiny Islands was so fun. Like racing Riku, beating Riku, fighting Tidus, Uwaka, and Selphie, and then fighting all three at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Getting the Palpu fruit.
Oh yeah.
Going on that date with Kyrie in the little crawl space. And then that door explodes, and then it is darkness.
You see, darkness. The darkness!
Darkness is overcoming the island, and you have to fight to survive. And this peaceful island that you were building a raft on, having fun with your friends, no parents in sight, is now, like, destroyed. Pieces of it are floating in this dark abyss. There's a dark kaiju, like, above, like, the island, looming over it, and punching the ground, opening up a portal, summoning more Heartless. And you don't know what the hell is going on. You just have your wooden sword, and then, oh, it's a Keyblade now. And you have to fight to survive. It's one of the first, it's one of the best ways to, have a fun, happy-go-lucky adventure that is serious, but it's still fun.
For number 9, we're going to go ahead and jump to a very recent game. The opening of SpiderMan II was an absolute blast. You're fighting Sandman, who is the size of a friggin', building now. Not like a house, maybe not skyscraper size. I don't quite recall if he was that big. But he was up there. He was a big boy, and you're zipping around New York trying not to get sandblasted, and it was a lot of fun. Switching between Peter and Miles would shoot lightning bolts at him and make these cool crystals shoot out of him. And in between that, you'll get knocked into a building. Gotta fight a bunch of regular sized Sandmans. He's got a bunch of sand clones. And while and you see, if you're Miles, you'll see Peter swinging around doing stuff outside and vice versa. Because you played as both, right?
Yeah.
You switch. Yeah, okay. But you're switching between them, and you see the other one doing stuff, and they set each other up for little combos that they're doing. Throwing, chunks of building at Sandman to, throw him off so you can blast him. It was a ton of fun, and it was a great intro. I mean, there's not very many better ways I can think to open a game than with a kaiju fight. And that is what we got with Spider-Man 2.
Also, it added in a lot of, tutorial, sections for new mechanics in the game, like web wings and stuff, but it's explained in a good way where Miles is just time for a field test, let's try these out. And Peter's I don't know. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and try it. And it's just a cool way to introduce the new mechanic into the game that they're testing out their prototype equipment.
Of course, because it's on this list, it is iconic, but one of the most iconic openings of all time is in Mario 64. It really just immediately showed you, okay, this is how 3D is going to work now.
Yeah, this is how games work now.
Yeah, this is the future. You're living it.
It's shocking to me that it didn't make it higher on our list, But I think these other ones weren't necessarily, like, to some extent, well, some of them were closer, but some of them aren't as revolutionary, but they did a better job, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's hard to judge, like, earlier stuff sometimes based on, like, you know, PlayStation 3 or 4 stuff.
Yeah.
But let it not be understated. Everybody that had an N64 was losing their mind at controlling Mario, and you haven't even gotten in the damn castle yet. You're just in the courtyard, and you're just like, holy shit, I can climb this tree. I can do a handstand on this tree and jump off the tree? Like, that was monumental.
Like, and yet, for me, at least, I assume this is a common experience. It's like, you jump once, cool. Jump twice, oh, that was different. And then you find out there's the triple jump.
Yeah.
And experimenting with, like, I don't remember if it even tells you about long jumps and stuff there, but maybe later it does.
Yeah.
But I think you have to talk to the toads to find that kind of crap out. But
and then on top of that, the first star level just really, like, you go in the castle, you're looking around, and there's only one door you can go in.
It's Bob-omb Battlefield. Iconic. Got the cool-ass music. And so much is going on. Like, that is probably the biggest, like, revolution, like, stage-wise on this list, is entering Bob-omb Battlefield. And it's this big, gargantuan 3D space for the time that you can go from this lowly valley to the top of this mountain and throw a bomb off of it. Like, it was wild.
Metroid has always had a way to make you feel cool, like, all the time. That's kind of, for me, what Metroid does better than any Nintendo franchise, is just Samus is just badass. And Metroid has this edge about it that a lot of other Nintendo franchises don't. And what they did with Metroid Prime is start you off full-on Varia suit, full, like, charge beam. You had all the general equipment that Samus would have at the end of Metroid 2? Is that? I forget the chronology of where Metroid
It's at the end of Metroid 1.
Metroid 1. So you have, maybe not all the powers from Metroid 1, but you have quite a few.
Various suit, you got missiles, you got charge beams.
So you're getting the basic idea of what you'll get throughout the game. They didn't let you keep all that, and it was a dumb way for Samus to lose her suit, where it just, it exploded and I hit a wall. Now I'm got my basic suit back on. Yeah. But before that, and like, it was a great opening for multiple reasons. It was setting up the story with the Mayday alert, whatever you call it, and it was showing you how the targeting works, showing you your beams, your charge beams, missiles, all that.
Your scan visor.
Your scan visor above all things. And
Make sure you don't forget to scan the stuff in there, because you can't go back.
Oh yeah, you can't go back. And then you fight the Parasite Queen, and that was awesome.
One of the best bosses of the entire game is in the prologue. Like, that's wild.
And you find all these dead pirates everywhere. You can scan them, and there's, like, some dark shit it's talking about. It's talking about, like, this guy's insides dissolved and came out of his nose. Or whatever the hell, because of, like, weird Phazon experiments. And then you see Ridley. Ridley's back in action, and he's pissed, and he went to this planet, and then you kerplode, and all that. But Metroid Prime had such a good opening, and it was showing you what powers you were going to get, and, I mean, of course you knew there was going to be a lot more to come. But you went from really powerful to kind of weak, back to pretty powerful, and then it just kept going up from there.
Not just one of the best openings, but Mega Man X has one of the best title screens. That music kicks in and you know you're about to have a good time. And then the level starts, and it's kind of similar to, like, other games like Mario, or the first Mario Brothers and stuff, where it's like the tutorial stage, but it doesn't really tell you how to do anything.
Yeah, you just figure it out. And you soon figure out that X means a load of difference, because this ain't your grandpa's Mega Man. Like, this is Mega Man X.
You start off with charge beam and stuff. You can do all that, and then you fight the giant bee, and then
the ground collapses.
The ground collapses, and you're
just like, what do I do?
That's how you learn about the wall jump, because otherwise you're stuck.
You just big old dead bee down there with you, and that's all you can do.
And then there's, like, those weird car enemies that if you shoot them the right way, you can ride on the cars, and that's cool. And then you get stuck with an unbeatable boss fight.
Oh,
And-
yeah. Yeah, getting your ass kicked at the beginning of the game, I mean, that's just the best. It sets up a villain for later, and that's what happened. I mean, Vile came back, and you had to kill him.
That starts a vendetta that's going to stick with you the whole game.
Mm-hmm. And you get Encounter Zero, and you're just like, damn, he's cool.
Yeah, he one-shots the guy that one-shotted you. You're just like, what a badass. And we thought he was a girl at first because he has long hair.
Yeah, we thought straight up.
Those sprites aren't too detailed, but Zero was a badass, stayed a badass throughout that game, and it really like set up everything that the franchise would be. Like the only thing missing was the dash boosts, but you got that later in the game. But everything else, like the wall jump, is paramount to that game. Had never been done in a Mega Man game prior to that. Like, nothing like Mega Man original. Mega Man X is like a step above it. And this intro stage taught us that.
This one is a bit unique for this list because it was coming off of one of the best cliffhangers of all time. Was Kratos riding on the back of Gaia while the Titans climb Mount Olympus for their war on the gods. That's how God of War 2 ended. God of War 3 picks right the hell up where it left off. You're on the back of a Titan that's climbing Mount Olympus to kill your dad. And and it wasn't just a cutscene. It was a cool cutscene, but the fact that you're on this Titan and all this shit is raining down upon you. Poseidon's like, all right, I'm gonna go be a horse, and he jumps in the water, and now he's a horse. And you get one of the best boss fights in the game right in the opening again, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
The god of the ocean is the tutorial prologue boss.
Yeah.
Like,
and it was awesome, and he's yelling at you about how you're such a little shit or whatever, but it sounds like he's underwater, but in a cool way, not like or anything. Like, it just sounds like muffled but echoey or something weird, and so he sounds like he's underwater, and he's just like, Kratos, f*** you, nephew, and like, you're like, yeah, alright, dad, uncle, I'm gonna go kill my dad. And I agree, it's weird, he might be his dad somehow too, who cares?
Yeah.
But it was just so badass the whole time. And then, of course, inevitably, you get up there, and then you get betrayed, and then you gouge. But you gouge out Poseidon's eyes. The best QTE ever.
yes. Absolutely.
Because you have to hit L3 and R3, and then Kratos goes, and just shoves his thumbs into the God of the Sea's eyes. And then I think you break his neck, maybe, but then you throw him off a cliff, and Greece is flooded. So that it also shows you that there are consequences to killing a god. Kratos doesn't give a shit yet. He's gonna wait for another game to give a shit about that. He's just like, oh yeah, his eyes are gone. That's why it flooded. I don't know. He didn't know. He just didn't care.
Yeah.
He didn't care, and it showed you what a bastard Kratos. I mean, he always was, but he's getting worse. And it was just the most badass shit. And yeah, we all know Kratos is a piece of shit. We knew that going in. But my god, fighting the god of the sea on the backs of titans, there's not too many cooler sentences than that.
I could just show you this one clip, and that's all that would need to be said. That being said, I am going to talk about it, but Breath of the Wild, that scene when you walk out of the sleep chamber and then it's just like, here's Hyrule. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Like, that is like the biggest opening, like, one of the most iconic openings of recent memories that I can think of. Just that few seconds alone.
Like, it's so iconic that a lot of games have just straight up copied it.
100%. And then it only gets better from there, because then it's just like, wow, this is beautiful. Everything the light touches is mine, and I can go to it. And then you're just like, let me go talk to this hobo. And then he's like, I got an apple, don't take it. But then you can take it, and then you can throw it on fire and cook it, and then you get more health. And like, okay, so the Great Plateau is the ultimate like tutorial place. Like it is,
And it's big.
if this was top 10 tutorials, that would be the best one because it teaches you everything without telling you anything. It's all done from experience. Like it tells you tutorials, obviously.
Yeah,
It's
it tells
like,
you a little.
press
tells you-
X to run and jump and throw
Yeah,
a bomb
and-
like this, but
It nudges you, but
Yeah.
it nudges you, but it doesn't outright tell you.
Yeah,
You
it's
can
not-
tackle any of the 4 shrines on the Great Plateau any way you want. Each one unlocks a rune that you will have with you for the rest of the game. Each shrine is tailor-made for that one to teach you, so you're an expert by the time you leave that shrine. So you know remote bombs work like this, Cryonis works like this, and the other, it's stasis and magnesis are very important too. And then they're all peppered throughout the Great Plateau. And then there's some areas you shouldn't be at because there's guardians sticking out of them and it's going to one-shot you. And then it's just like, oh my god, there's a Bokoblin camp, I can take them out. And then you rush them and then they like one-shot you as well. And that was the best part about it, is that it is hard as fucking shit.
teaches you about the weather too. I mean, you don't learn about hot weather too.
Yeah, you gotta cook some peppers to survive on the mountaintops, or you get the warm doublet shirt so that way you can survive without the peppers, but you gotta get the peppers to get the doublet.
Yeah.
And then you get the Nintendo Switch t-shirt.
Yeah, the iconic Nintendo Switch shirt. I still want it in real life, to be honest. But Breath of the Wild, it was a masterclass in starting a game and just letting you experience it for hours on end, and then it only gets bigger from there, like times 100, because that is one small piece of the grand map that is Hyrule.
Get those Kleenex ready, because this is one of the most emotional openings of all time. The Last of Us, it starts out kind of slow. You're just controlling like the little sleepy girl walking around, like, where's Dad at? But there's some context clues that something's not right. And then all of a sudden nothing is right, because it just kicks in, like, you see the weird, like, report on the news. There's an explosion in the background that's also on the news, which
That's the best part,
Yeah.
in my opinion, is like seeing the explosion on the news, and then there's the delay for the real life explosion, because it's miles away. Like, that was a very cool touch.
Oh, I forgot that part.
Yeah.
I thought you got it backwards
And
for a second.
then your dad and Tommy show up, and they're just like, we gotta go now.
You know, Sarah, get in the car. You're like, what? What's going on? And then you're just like, don't question me.
Yeah,
Get in the
and
car.
It was around this time
And
when...
didn't they shoot the neighbor right then, or pipe wrencher or whatever?
I
Like,
think
Yeah,
hit him,
the
yeah.
neighbors start coming at him. And
Like, yeah.
Tommy shows up and shoots him.
And it was around that time that I started thinking about it in the back of my head. I was just like, oh no.
This girl.
This girl wasn't in the trailer.
This is a different girl from the
And
trailer.
I was like, okay. Maybe it'll probably be. Like, I kind of forgot about it because everything was happening. And then
it's gonna be fine.
you confront that soldier, and he's just like, yes, sir, all right. And just starts
like,
shooting at you. And
But he has a kid, and it's like, okay. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Like
and
that.
he raises his gun, and Joel sees it. He's like, no! Because at this point, Sarah's ankle is broken or sprained from the car wreck. So
Yeah.
Joel's carrying her and does what he can. And he dodges the bullet fire, but Sarah does not. And she dies.
It's rough.
Yeah,
It's
it's very
rough.
rough.
It gets me every time. I replay this game a million times. And every time, like, that one at very least makes me, like, well up a bit. Like, it is
Yeah. Like
just raw emotion and very well done, like,
And
voice acting.
And before that, you see how bad Joel is. Like, not bad, but like how he'll make the hard decision.
He makes,
Because he's just like, f***ing leave him. Like, to those
yeah, there's
people.
a family on the
Yeah.
side of the road, and Sarah's like, yeah, there's people. And he's like, she's like, they have a kid, Joel, and he's like, so do we, Tommy. Keep going.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad decision, you know, because he's got to protect his own.
Yeah.
But, and it also, like, you're running from the infected through the city, and, like, it's...
Oh,
There's
it's
explosions happening.
Yeah,
like,
it's so
it's
good.
so hectic and so sad, and like I'm kind of jealous of the people that were watching the show that hadn't played the game before because they got to experience that again.
Oh, that's how my wife was.
So crushing.
She was just like, what? And, it was the same thing. It was the same emotion. She was like, oh god, like, and then crying.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then like the sad music starts up, the title screen comes up, and you're just like, God, I'm in for a rough time.
We've talked about some iconic openings so far, but one of the most iconic ones of all video gaming is the bombing mission from Final Fantasy VII. Now, we're kind of stretching the rules and putting this game on here twice, because it's ultimately, like, an amazing experience in Final Fantasy VII Original and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Original is groundbreaking. We went from 2D sprites, like the big-headed Super Nintendo sprites of Final Fantasy VI,
And now big-headed.
We have polygonal 3D models that are like flipping off a train car, and then you get in a fight, and they're detailed polygonal models. Like,
yeah.
Cloud looks good in like the battle mode. Like, it still looks pretty good in the overworld, like polygons, but this is wild to see. Characters are blinking and stuff. Like, there's actual dialogue. People are saying shit. It's like
they
a
was
lot
cussing.
more mature. Like,
It was cussing. That was one of our first experiences with a game be cussing.
Yeah. And it's throwing you into, like, a terrorist mission, which is really interesting that you're just exploding electric company's reactor. And then it's just like, okay, this is kind of cool. I'm going around pushing buttons, kind of solving a little bit of light puzzling. There's a few guards here. And then you get to the main core of the reactor, and you're like, alright, let's set it up, and let's blow it. And then the guard scorpion shows up, and you're just like, holy shit, this thing is huge! And then, I want to say, I don't know if it's scripted or not, but you can proc your limit break in this fight. And that is like a big moment to see, just like, holy hell, I can do this big attack.
That's my super move.
Yeah.
Cloud does Braver, does a big old slice on it, and it introduces some cool, like, new mechanics. Well, it's not new, but they teach you shit in the battle. Like, Cloud and Barret are having dialogue. They're just like, hit it with electricity. It's a robot. That's going to be super effective against it. And it also shows you more of, like, the active time battle system. Because the scorpion will raise its tail, and then if you attack it while its tail is raised, you're getting counterattacked. So you do that, and then Barret's like, Cloud, don't attack it while its tail is up. So you have to wait for it to put its tail down for the active time battle system. Or you could attack it and get hit, or you could wait and do it the safe way. The choice is yours. Fast forward 20 years, however long it was,
20-something
time,
to Final Fantasy VII Remake. That iconic, groundbreaking mission is now redone in glorious 4K with glorious graphic models. Cloud is very beautiful now. Barret's a badass again. Like, it is very cool to see. Like, this is my imagination come to life. Like, everything I was imagining with the original Final Fantasy is now here. Guard Scorpion is a far more involved battle because it's an action RPG now. You can swap between Cloud, or Guard Scorpion goes on the walls so Cloud can't swipe at him. So you got to swap to Barret that now has ranged attacks. You can hit the triangle button to do massive damage. You have a stagger meter that you have to build up. Somehow, Final Fantasy VII Remake made that iconic opening just as iconic and almost just as revolutionary. Maybe it was just nostalgia, but I loved seeing that, like, be realized in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
If this was top 10 title screens, this would probably be pretty high up there too. But the second you hit start, and you know you're in for something special with Ocarina of Time. So, and especially when, like, you get a little backstory, whatever, and Navi's zipping through the forest because the tree told her to. It's just this fantasy stuff. If you never really played Zelda before, like before this, you're like, what the hell, this magic tree, the guardian of the forest, telling this fairy to go to Link, and she's zooming through Kokiri Forest. And you get a little tour of Kokiri Forest before you can even play.
Yeah.
So like for me, I was like, oh, I want to go there. I want to go there. It was really cool. And just like Mario 64, one of the first 3D things like that we ever played, really. One of them, at least like this, you know. And it was a fantastic tutorial, and it wasn't like stopping the action at all times to tell you what to do. It would intersperse it out, you know. But the fairy goes to the room, wakes up Link, who's always lazy.
Yeah.
And pretty much after this, for a long time, he was lazy. And then Breath of the Wild broke the trend by making him just straight up, like, dead.
Yeah.
So you get woken up by a fairy, found out Link never had a fairy before, and then you get to confront your bully about it or whatever. You get to talk to your bully, Mido. Yeah, Mido is that piece of shit. But you wake up, you're exploring this little town full of children. Don't know what the hell is going on at first, and then
so you're just told you were summoned by the Deku tree.
Summoned by the Deku tree, but then that piece of shit Mido.
It's like, you can't get in here without a shield.
No, you can't.
Or a sword.
No, little bastard. So you get to know the game, and that, like, even though you have, like, a sword and stuff, there's still little bastards that are going to stand in your way.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing opening.
It kind of morphs together, like, the feeling of some of the previous openings we talked about. Like, you have the Mario 64 aspect of, like, the revolutionary, like, 3D space. Kind of have the Final Fantasy VII remake aspect, because at the time, these graphics were very, very good.
Oh,
because we had Mario 64 trees that were just green blobs. These ones have a leafy texture to them.
They have branches.
They have branches and stuff like that. The grass is grass. It's not a green plane.
And taught you about Z targeting, which, like, that was a big step.
Z targeting was a big
action
thing.
Games.
And we have the fun, carefree aspect, like Kingdom Hearts, where you just walk around the forest with the other kids having an adventure. But then the Deku tree is sick. And things take a turn for the worse.
Oh, yeah. And then after all of your fun little town adventures, you go to the Deku tree, kill a big old spider in there. He dies anyway. Teaches you about life, you know? But, so it was a really good introductory dungeon. Taught you a lot about how that game's going to work. It's like, you know, you get the slingshot, shoot the ladder falls, now you can get out. That kind of stuff.
You can burn webs with the Deku sticks. You can throw the nuts and paralyze things.
Yep. Yeah. Then you get, like I said, get to fight a cool spider at the end. And once the Deku tree dies, he tells you, but before that he tells you about your mom and stuff, and that you're not a Kokiri and you gotta go. And that's the opening to Ocarina of Time. It's phenomenal. It showed you what a good opening should do. Show you everything you need to know, but you know more's coming. And that's what it did so beautifully. And it was the beginning of one of the greatest adventures of all time.
And that's going to be our list. That was 10 openings that we thought are the best of the best. Now, we had some on here that we couldn't fit, like Uncharted 2 was a big one we wanted to put on here, but we just could not bump any of these lower. Like, the train is amazing, but there's no Destiny Islands. So, if you would put Uncharted 2's train above Kingdom Hearts Destiny Islands, let us know that in the comments. What's one of your favorite openings of all time? Did you ever want it to end? Did it teach you everything you needed to know for the game? Let us know in the comments. We'll catch y'all at the end of this year with our top 10 endings. So stay tuned.